What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Money's Funko Pops. I'm Justin, and today I'm going to be taking you guys on an inside look at my Walking Dead collection. I don't collect a lot of horror. I'm really not into Halloween pops either. So when I decided that I wanted to do like a Halloween week themed sort of like video setup, I was like, what can I do? What set can I show off, which is more Halloween and horror-y? Now, The Walking Dead has always had a special place in my heart. I am a huge fan of the comics. I loved the show. And actually, in this video, the first two pops I had ever picked up are featured here. The first two pops I ever picked up were Walking Dead commons, and they're the first two things that I'm about to show off, and I always have a soft spot in my heart for them, so it's exciting for me to be able to show you guys my entire Walking Dead set. I got about, I don't know, 20 or so pops to show off for you guys, so let's go ahead and get on into it because there's a lot of good stuff to show here, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. And this video is going to have spoilers for The Walking Dead. Of course, the title is going to say that, but I feel the need to reiterate it so I don't ruin the show for somebody. And like I said, guys, the first two pops I ever picked up were Walking Dead commons, and here they are right here. We got Rick Grimes and Morgan Jones from the 6th series of Walking Dead pops. So the way I'm going to do this is kind of talk about the characters and show you guys the pops in the sequence that they showed up in the television show. I thought about doing it in numerical order, but honestly, I feel like I wouldn't be able to talk about the show as fluid, so I decided that going in appearance order would be better. So that's why I'm showing you guys Rick and Morgan first, because they are the first two main characters that we meet. I definitely don't agree with what they did to his character by moving him over to Fear the Walking Dead. I really don't understand their obsession with taking Walking Dead characters and moving them over to Fear the Walking Dead. These were my first two pops I ever picked up. I was with Danny and we were looking at these, and I was like, should we start collecting these? And she was like, well, they have Rick and Morgan, and they have Lilo and Stitch. We can each get two. And that was the decision that ruined our lives, because now I have 250. She has 200 of them. And it all started with these two right here. So in a weird way, I owe my pop collection to Rick and Morgan here. So the next Walking Dead pop I want to show off to you guys is one of my personal favorite pops. We have the Bloody Carl Grimes, which is a 7-Eleven exclusive. One thing that I absolutely love about the Walking Dead pops is that they love to do blood splatter. I think that it is one of the most deserving lines to get blood splatter variants. Nonetheless, this is one of my favorite Walking Dead pops. You know, Carl, rest in peace, Carl. They shouldn't have done him that dirty, but they unfortunately did. And I'm just very happy to still have this in my collection. And this is most definitely another one that I won't be getting rid of anytime soon because of how much I love the blood splatter on it. The next pop in my Walking Dead collection is another OG from Season 1, and that is TDog, which was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive from 2017. And this guy was technically part of the 7th series of Walking Dead pops, and he was shared with Hot Topic. Now, when I was like doing notes and writing down different talking points and things like that, one thing I wanted to address was the Walking Dead's presence with Funko at all of the different Comic-Cons. In Funko's earlier years, we were getting San Diego Comic-Con exclusives Walking Dead pops like it was nothing. And then eventually they decided to start doing characters from previous seasons who are no longer on the show, which I think was a really nice touch, and it allowed the franchise to go back into their vault and do different characters who are no longer on the show and give them some representation in the Walking Dead line. And since we just talked about T-Dog, I think it is a great time to talk about his rival from the first season of The Walking Dead, and that is Merle Dixon. Merle Dixon is easily one of my top 5 characters in The Walking Dead, period. Season 3 Merle was such a well-written character. They really put a lot of love into Michael Rooker's character. Now, this is the blood splatter Merle Dixon from the 3rd series of Walking Dead pops, and this is actually a con exclusive, and I don't know where it was exclusive to. The sticker says show exclusive 2013 limited edition variant, and the blood splatter on this guy just is outstanding. There is a whole bunch of blood on him. Of course, Merle and T-Dog have a big altercation on the rooftop in the, I believe it's the 2nd episode of the show of season 1, where they chain him to the roof. Rick tells him that when he can behave, they'll let him go or whatever, and then T-Dog drops the key in the drain, leaving Merle on the roof. I think that it was a robbery that we never got to see these two interact just one more time since that situation. And Bloody Merle actually isn't the only Merle pop that I own in my Walking Dead set. I have two Merles, and this one is probably one of my biggest grails in my entire collection, and this is the Walker Merle Dixon. So one thing that I thought was interesting was that this doesn't show up in the back of the box. It's number 71, and it's just a common. This Walker Merle Dixon is one that I will never get rid of. Like I said, Merle's one of my favorite characters. It's such a heartbreaking moment when Merle gets turned into a walker and then Daryl has to put him down. Another OG is this out-of-box Glenn here. I traded two commons for this thing when Glenn got killed off of the show, and eventually I'm going to get a custom box made for this guy. This way I have him in a box, but here's my Glenn. I have one of them, and yeah, there he is. The last OG member of The Walking Dead, you know, these are all people that showed up in the first season. I have one more of those characters, and then we'll start moving on to some of the later seasons here, but the last guy I have here is Shane Walsh, and this was a New York Comic Con exclusive that came out alongside Series 6 of The Walking Dead, and this was shared with Box Lunch back in 2016, so just about 3 years ago this thing came out. And I remember not knowing what Box Lunch was, and this pop was my first experience with trying to get anything from Box Lunch. It looks pretty cool. I think that this is probably one of my least favorite Walking Dead pops, and I only have it because I love Shane. Shane was a great character, but it would have been so cool to give us Walker Shane when he turns into a walker at the end of that episode. Like, why give us Shane and then not give us a Walker variant as well? And it is just such an awesome arc that they take him on, so that's why I had to have this thing. What Walking Dead collection would be complete without a Herschel Green pop? And of course, you know, it has to be the headless one from San Diego Comic-Con, guys. This is such an amazing pop. It is just, it's so sad. Like, this is what I wanted to see them do to Shane. Take the moment where the character dies and turn it into a pop, especially an iconic death like this or like Shane. This is probably the coolest thing that you can do to a Funko Pop. Just like the headless Ned Stark from Game of Thrones, you take a character who gets decapitated and you just take the damn head off. That's all you have to do. You put some blood on there and that's it. For those who have watched The Walking Dead, you know that Herschel is one of the most wholesome characters, easily one of the best characters in the show's history. And, you know, everyone was just so sad with his death in season 4. It was sad. It was definitely one of the biggest, like, oh shit moments from The Walking Dead. And I love that they took it and they transitioned it into a pop. And for those of you who have watched some other videos here on the channel, you know that I am a sucker for 2-packs, 3-packs, 4-packs. So that's why this Walking Dead pack was an easy pickup for me. And that is Michonne and her 2 pets 3-pack. This is a PX Previews exclusive. Now, The Walking Dead is one of those lines that is infamous for all the blood splatter. As you can see already, there's a lot of blood splatter going on over here. But one of the things that's interesting is that they didn't cover these guys in blood, because in the, you know, in the sequence where they're introduced, they're not covered in blood. They're out in the middle of the woods, in the mud, in the, you know, the wet leaves and all the, you know, it's just gross out in the woods. So they cover these bad boys in mud, which is very, very cool. And one of the things that I love about this pack as well is that they kept the blood splatter on the window, but rather than have it be blood, it's mud. You have a dirty handprint, you have brown mud all along the front window. There's rumors rumbling around that this current season of The Walking Dead that's on air right now is going to be Michonne's last season on the show. So to me, while it is sad to be seeing her go, having this in the collection will always be a reminder of the great scenes that Michonne has been in. So now, after all of this stuff has happened in these first 4 seasons, we move on to some characters who get introduced after we lose Herschel. The first 2 I'm going to show here are part of Abraham's army, who Glenn and Tara meet, and that is Rosita and Eugene. So we have Eugene here with his pickles, and then of course we get to one of my celebrity crushes here, Christian Serratos. Rosita is one of my favorite characters in the show because I have a crush on Christian Serratos, the actress who plays her. And of course, you can't have Abraham's army here without an Abraham pop, but this one is special because it is autographed by Michael Cutlitz himself, the actor who plays Abraham. Now, this thing is in a hard stack because of the fact that it is autographed, And as you can see, it has the official Walker Stalker sticker on there. These three characters are three of my favorite. Abraham did not deserve to go out the way that he did. I think that in the comics, he was completely killed just for shock factor. And I believe that Robert Kirkman has actually said that he only killed Abraham off for shock factor, and that he promised that they wouldn't do that in the show. And then when they give his death in the comics to Denise, and then just kill him off 3 episodes later just for shock factor, it kind of left a salty taste in my mouth for the show for a while. And while we're talking about autographs here, I actually just let go of an autographed Jesus, which was autographed by the actor Tom Payne. I let that go to Peyton's Pop Planet, who should be receiving that hopefully by the time this video goes live. I'll make sure that I link that down below so you guys can see part of this Walking Dead collection end up in another great collector's hands, so you guys can head over to her channel and see her add part of my collection to hers. Speaking about Abraham going out too early, we now have the guy who did it to him, and that is Negan himself, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And number 390 isn't the only Negan I have. I also have this one here, number 573. And the reason I have 2 Negans is because I love comic Negan and I love television show Negan. And of course, these are both from the TV show, but I feel like this most recent one resembles the comic Negan much more than this one does. So I figured I would pick up this Negan because it resembles the comics version of him much, much more than this one does. And then I have this one here because this one looks like him from the TV show, so at least I have a little bit of each variation of him. Next on the list, we have one of the reasons that Negan was able to be taken down, and that is because of our boy Dwight here. Dwight is probably one of my favorite characters from the comic books, if not my favorite character from the comic books. Personally, I think that TV show Dwight was a little bit underused because they had this grand scheme to move him over to Fear the Walking Dead rather than keep him solely on The Walking Dead. I think that they did a lot of great detail on this pop, and personally, I think that it transitioned well because he has his whole burned face on him, and that's kind of like Dwight's thing. It just wouldn't be Dwight without the disfigurement that they have on his face there, so kudos to Funko for putting so much detail into this pop. You can really see the textures and the details in that burnt skin, and that is what really ties this whole thing together. One awesome looking pop that I absolutely needed to have to match Walker Merle Dixon here was Walker Sasha. I love when they turn characters into walkers in the show. It's such a, awe factor. Everyone is just in complete shock. And turning Sasha into a walker was such a great idea, having her come out of that coffin. I personally saw it coming because, of course, I read the comics, but this thing looks so great. They put a lot of detail into her. Her face is blue. She has blood on her shirt. She has the blood on her mouth. And they have the blood splatter on the box again, which is awesome. Now, this thing was a Funko Shop exclusive back in 2017. I personally never cared for Sasha in the earlier seasons. She had been around since season 3 with her brother Tyrese, but at the end of the day, her character went on a great journey. They did some great character development with her, and even though I did get a little bored of her in the middle of her time on the show, roughly around seasons 5 and 6, I think they really picked up her character. They did some great stuff with her in the later seasons. Walker Pops are sick. This thing looks great, and it still resembles Sasha, which I think is a very important detail. Now we get into the king himself, King Ezekiel, which I was super nervous for in the TV show because in the comic books, it's a little bit less grounded in the real world. I was nervous to see how they were going to incorporate this character, and I think they knocked it out of the park. And the last 2 things I wanted to show are, of course, Daryl Dixon. You can't have a Walking Dead collection without the man himself, Daryl Dixon. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I personally do not care for Daryl Dixon, which is why I only have him here in his prisoner outfit. Daryl goes on this super annoying character arc between seasons 5 and seasons 6 that I really personally don't care for. Another piece of Walking Dead merchandise that I have that is a Funko item is the Chase Dorbs Daryl, which is the first Chase I ever found in the wild. And here it is, guys. Here is all of my Walking Dead Funko collection. I'd say Funko Pop collection, but I got the one Dorb in the mix here. Personally, for me, I lost interest in the show when Rick left, and I kind of decided to take a step back and let go of some of my Walking Dead Pops, and I pretty much cut this collection down by half. and I kept all of my favorite pieces, which is why throughout this whole video you have me saying like, oh, this is one of my favorites, oh, this is one of my favorite characters, because I got rid of things that I didn't necessarily need to have to make room for other sets and other things that I wanted to collect. And if you're new to the channel, guys, make sure you scroll down below and you hit that subscribe button. You're not going to want to miss out on any of the content I'm posting here to the channel, and I have a lot of awesome content coming up for the holidays that you are not going to want to miss out on. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your support, and I will see you guys soon. What's up, guys? Thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate your support. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more content that I post here to the channel. Down below me, there are 2 different videos. You have my suggestion, which is the video that I suggest you watch, or you can click next video, which will take you to a video very similar to the one that you just watched. So thank you guys so much for your support, and I'll see you soon.